Democrats are finding themselves in this rough spot ahead of the 2026 midterms. The New York Times, in fact, calling it a, quote, voter registration crisis for the Democrats. The Times reporting the Democratic Party is hemorrhaging voters with a 4-year swing toward Republicans, adding up to about 4.5 million voters. The report indicating that of the 30 states that track voter registration by political party, Democrats lost ground to Republicans in, quote, every single one between 2020 and 2024. Correspondent Caleb Park, he's here in studio this morning with more on the numbers, eye-opening numbers at that. Caleb?
Yeah, that's right, Shannon. It is shocking, and this is also coming, as you said, from the New York Times. As you can see here, the Republicans dropped slightly, but still higher than 2024, as Democrats have plummeted nationally to less than 25%. Just take a look at all the states where Democrats lost voters. In total, about 2.1 million across 30 states, with drops in battleground states like Nevada and Pennsylvania, but even Democrat strongholds like New York and California. Over the same time period, Republicans gained 2.4 million registered voters. Republicans made gains in blue states and battleground states as well. You can see a big jump in Iowa. Activists like Scott Pressler have been pushing for registration in social media, especially in Pennsylvania.
I court you. I ask for your vote. Go to vote.pa.gov, register to vote, and make a plan to vote.
Pressler says Democrats are panicking over registration efforts, and these issues that Democrats ran on were restoring democracy, abortion, and not being Trump. Republicans hit hard on immigration, crime, and things like keeping men out of women's sports. Shannon?
Well, and you're starting to hear mainstream media push back on some of its leading candidates. You heard Gavin Newsom being criticized by Morning Joe this morning on our program here. It's not surprising when you see these numbers, but I was surprised to see the New York Times as a headline with this just this morning. You actually experienced, you told me before we came to set, Caleb, you actually experienced firsthand a little bit of this on the trail during election night.
Yeah, that's right. I was in Philadelphia, where Kamala Harris needed to perform really well compared to Biden in 2020. And there was just a lack of enthusiasm throughout the day. And I think we've seen that in recent polls where Americans now say Democrats are weak, woke, and wandering in the wilderness, like you mentioned, looking for leaders like Gavin Newsom, who's mimicking and mocking Trump. And you just kind of see this. I think voters are seeing a lack of authenticity in these issues that they care about. And, you know, with Trump, you get what you see. You know exactly what he's thinking. And so, you know, the numbers don't lie. The midterms are going to be a big steep hill for Democrats.
And as you were on the ground reporting, when you speak to people, are they saying we're looking for real issues? You know, at the time when we're coming into this election, this past election, you know, eggs were a big thing. I used to say, it wasn't complicated. You stood in the grocery store line at checkout, you turned to your right, you turned to the left. It didn't matter what, you know, nationality, race, creed, color, gender, you know, sex, whatever. We all were paying $4 for eggs, and it was not okay.
Yeah, inflation was a huge issue, and I think we saw that, you know, in rural areas and then in cities as well. And you saw more people willing to pull the lever for Trump, you know, with all the issues that they had under Biden. And then Kamala Harris, you know, was kind of a continuation. She never really got away from him. And now Democrats are wondering, you know, is it Kamala or Gavin? You know, who's going to take over with the issues? And some of the issues that they've been fighting on, like you said, they don't really affect the average American at the grocery store. It's kind of these, like, what is, you know, fighting for democracy? What does that look like?
Struggling to find a leader, struggling to find a message. I know you'll stay on top of it for us. Good work today. Thanks. Caleb. Appreciate you bringing those numbers to us as we close out the show.